Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, this is Gary Wilson. Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm glad to have you back with us again this week. We got a great guest, Jamila Tunu, who I know personally and professionally, so this is going to be a really good podcast interview for you. Jamila's got a great background in real estate when it comes to commercial lending, brokerage. She even has a program to help you achieve financial literacy. But before we introduce her, I just want to remind you, if you could please, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and go to your favorite channel, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Okay. And furthermore, if you haven't done so yet, obviously in the last year, the Global Investor Agent team has expanded now to 25 states. And we're the largest team servicing the most states in one sector, which is investing. We focus on investing. So you can find these agents. Go to the website, realestatewithgarywilson.com. Click on members area. Even if you're not a member, click on members area. If you're a member, you go to the left, you know that. If you're not a member, then go to the right and we'll tell you what to do. And for 30 days, you can grab all you can handle for free. Books, calculators, spreadsheets, websites, everything you want. Just treat it like Christmas time, okay? But in any case, let's get back to the podcast. So first off, Jamila, I want to say thank you for being here. I know you're busy. I know you're successful, and I know we're lucky to have you on board. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Hey, if you could, I know you and I know each other. So this is interesting because normally I don't know the other person as well as I know you. But would you mind filling people in about who you are? Just paint a picture for us, because you really are a pretty awesome person with an interesting background.
Thank you.
Yep.
Where do we begin? I guess the biggest thing is when you and I first started working together, one of the major things that you would talk about is purpose. And so I would say that I'm pretty much living in my purpose. So my purpose is basically to break the generational chains of poverty in my community through education and economic empowerment by mastering my resources and teaching others to do the same. That's my purpose. I can recite it to anyone. And so I'm one that lives in my purpose. So if we break that down, I teach financial literacy, been teaching financial literacy for over 20 years. Fell into it from a childhood, not having a whole lot, working at a bank, seeing people that had a lot and was like, how did that happen? And just became curious ever since then. But what I found is I kept running into hitting brick walls. I'm so intelligent, but why can't I, hit this money? And what I learned was that there was a money blueprint that you have that you grow up with. And so it's a mindset thing. And when I discovered that, is when I understood that there was a missing link that a lot of people are missing. They're thinking that they have to go and invest and flip houses and things like that. But you can flip a house and make $50,000 and then what? It's like winning the lottery. It'll be gone in who knows how long if you don't have a foundation set. Mm-hmm. So I teach financial literacy and I encourage people to set a foundation prior to them jumping into investing, or at least having a plan to have their foundation in place, using the investment to get their foundation together. And that's called Financial Legacy Building Secrets. And then from there, as we build and go, I can provide lending. I'm a lender. Mm-hmm. So I do commercial lending as well as I'm a realtor. So I provide real estate services as well. So those that want to invest, and I'm on Gary's team with the Global Investor Agent. Absolutely love it. He pulled me from somewhere I wasn't really ready to move from, but I'm so glad I made the leap. So thank you, Gary. And the resources that we have there, that helps me to help my clients. And then also then I wanted to diversify in helping my investors. So if they did not want to invest in, be a landlord and deal with tenants and toilets and all that stuff, I have an alternative, which is the notes in order to have residual income and invest in notes. So that's been one of my passions as well. I absolutely love the whole concept of it, but it's just a different way to invest in real estate and still have something residually. And but that's pretty much me. That's what I do now. And I absolutely love everything that I do now because it's on purpose and I'm living in my passion. And so it's every day is a great day for me now.
I love it. And you've definitely, you've got the heart and the talent and the skill, the intelligence. I mean, you're the complete package. It was really cool for everybody. Yeah. Everybody listening here. Jamila created her own material on her own. Normally I help others co-develop their own training programs, but Jamila already had it, which I find extremely fascinating because most people don't. They don't even know where to start. So and actually, if we could, Jamila, can we talk about the financial literacy a little bit? Because I know for me, education, I start with education, everything I do.
Right.
Service, and you definitely have got the right, you've got the servant's heart. I know you speak with it with passion. I've heard you before. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be awesome,
Yeah, absolutely. So right now the total package is, I've got the total package and I've got it broken down. I'm out in the process actually breaking it down for those that just need specific areas. But the whole premise is a legacy house. If you imagine a house with the foundation, 4 pillars, and then a roof on top. So the foundation is the mindset, money mindset. That is the total foundation. Again, if you have a foundation, you can build on a rocky foundation. But as we know, the whole structure can fall. So we start with money mindset and we continue to go hard on money mindset throughout all the modules. But mindset is where we start. Then from there, we go into credit restoration, learning about credit and working on getting your credit where it needs to be. Then from credit, we move on to cash. And the reason why I do credit first is because this is one of those, you got to sit and wait. So let's go ahead and get that started and then let that process go through what it needs to go through. Then from there, we move on to cash flow management, which in that area, I have rephrased actually the word budgeting because it has such a bad connotation. So I rephrased it. Again, this is all money mindset helping to switch. So I've rephrased it to income allocation. So it's an income allocation statement. So I teach that. And starting to allocate because it's more empowering. Budget says, okay, it feels restrictive. And income allocation puts the power in your hands to say, I'm allocating where my money goes. And so we do income allocation statements. And I also teach in their personal financial statements, because if you don't know your net worth, then you don't know your worth. I mean, so you have to do a personal financial statement, even if it's negative, which most people that are in debt are going to be negative. That's fine. Now you know, because what gets measured gets managed. So now you know how to manage it, and then you'll make different debt decisions when you see how it affects your net worth in total. So we cover that there. Then we move on to debt elimination, consumer debt elimination. I'm real big. I believe in leverage as long as it's something else is paying the debt. I'm fine with that. But if you're personally paying for the debt, I get people's attention because, you're basically enslaved. You're building somebody else's legacy. And is that not what, if you look at what was happening, your labor is for somebody else's legacy when you're not, when you're in consumer debt. So it's very important. So I kind of go into that. And then once you've gotten those first 4 foundational things in play, then you're ready to invest. And that's when I get into asset acquisition. So I'm real basic, just kind of helping people get a plan. What are the 4? We go into the major asset classes and you decide which asset class you want to, invest in. Then you go into that asset class and research and really find a place to start. A lot of people don't know where to start. Well, you start with your research. Once you get your foundation in play and you find out and you research what area you want to start with. Do you want to be in paper, your stocks, mutual funds? Do you want to go on commodities, which I think a lot of people are sleeping on? Do you want to go into real estate, which is my forte? Or do you want to go into business? Do you want a true business and not owning a job, but a true business that pays you when you're not there? So understanding that there is a difference there. So we move into that. And then after we've done that, then we need to protect all this stuff that we've done. So I go through protection in every module as well. So how do you protect your credit? How do you protect your debt? How do you protect your assets? How do you protect everything? So we go into protection. And that's when I bring in professionals and that piece to make sure, or encourage them to find their own professionals to do estate planning and making sure that everything is protected as a whole. because most people don't have wills, and most people don't understand that the wills don't necessarily protect everything. So you might need to go into trust. So this is a whole lot of just education. My goal with this course is it's more overview to make you consciously incompetent, knowing that now you know that you don't know. And then you can work on becoming consciously competent about all these different things. And that's really where I kind of stay there. And it can get more advanced, but I want you to know that there's more that you need to know from this course.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you're using the terminology to consciously, unconscious, and all these terms I learned years ago too. And I think, what the heck are they talking about?
Right.
But the fact is you're aware that of what you don't know. And it's one of the keys to success is really being, sincere with yourself and honest with yourself, and realizing we don't know everything. In fact, one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in life is the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And it drives me to want to learn more. You pick up practical terms, you grab a book, you read it, and in that book, they mention 3 other books, so I go get those books. And it really is a constant journey. And thankfully I've got that learner's heart, so I never get tired of it. But the thing is, I love the way you start, because, most of us, like for me, I thrive on teaching, but sometimes I struggle. I've got to really slow down and go to where that person is. And in a lot of cases, people are not ready to invest it because they don't have the foundation built. And you start there. You start with where they are, which is, you've got to first learn how to make some money, learn how to protect it. We call it playing offense and playing defense. And, I was one of those typical young guy going out there building the empire, had no defensive plan. I was just out there putting points on the board, and it was fun. I was having fun, make a lot of money. And then when life's tragedies occur, I wasn't properly structured to protect what I had. And then, now I'm in my second half of life, and I've, got the proper structure in place. But if you wouldn't mind, let's touch a little bit on, you were talking about asset classes. And for everybody listening, the thing I love about Jamila, and we're the same way on the team too, is I know I'm in the world of real estate, but I would never tell people, hey, you should just do real estate and don't worry about the stock market. Stock market's risky. I'm not one of those guys. I've made a lot of money in the stock market, and I've got trust funds that I deal with now because of my age. I'm the ripe old age of 58. I'm not risk averse, but I'm playing more defense. I'm choosing asset classes that are more stable while the rest of the economy is going up and going down. You want to have stability when you have grandkids and things like that. So if you wouldn't mind, could we touch a little bit on the classes? And if you want to focus on real estate, that's okay. But I want people to realize there is a place to start. You don't have to start off with a 100-unit building, Right.
I love that, because honestly, when you look at the asset classes, and these 4 major asset classes, I learned this mainly from Robert Kiyosaki, by the way, from Rich Dad Poor Dad. So those of you that are readers, but the starting off with business, and then I'll kind of go down. Well, let's start with paper, actually, because that's the easiest one to get in. So paper is your stocks, bonds, savings bonds, anything that it's not tangible. Is pretty much, paper. So because it's just all electronic, it's on paper. The money is on paper. It's nothing that you have in your hand. So one of the easiest ways to start investing is to do an automatic not withdrawal, automatic deposit into a mutual fund. It can be an IRA or Roth IRA. I'm a big proponent of Roth IRAs because it grows tax-free. But do your research, talk to your financial advisor to see what works best for you. But you can start investing in that with as low as $50 a month, and just start, and then you can take advantage of the power of compound interest. That's the one thing that the beauty of that is the power of compound interest kicks in. And if you learn the rule of 72, this is the biggest rule about money. The rule of 72 tells you how long it would take for your money to double. So if you have your money in something like a savings account where it's only getting 0.001%, if you divide that by 72, you're going to be in the 300 or 400, 500 years before your money doubles. So that's why, so this is kind of a way for you to understand that, mutual funds, if you're in a good growth mutual fund, I mean, you can average anywhere from 10 to almost 18, 20%. And I'm being conservative, but, so it can be, it can be more sometimes depending on how aggressive you are. So that's one way, that's one asset class. Paper is very easy to get. Even if you just bought a savings bond, I mean, just start somewhere, and allowing yourself to see that. But that $50 a month, that time value of money, and just making sure that it just goes, and that compound interest starts to kick in. You can see some there, and the earlier you start, the better. So if you've got children, start just putting $50 away for them as soon as they're born, and watch them be millionaires before they turn 40. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing if you take advantage of that. So that's the paper. That's the easiest one to get in. I mean, you've even got Robinhood and all these different apps that allow you to buy partial individual stocks. So one fun way to get children involved is if they like Nikes, or if they like Apple, if they like whatever they like, to have them own a piece of it and teach them that ownership in stock. And so that's one way to get children involved. I think it's one called Stackable. I'm gonna have to look it up. Stockpile is what it's called. And it actually allows you to create a minor of investment account. So you have an account, and then your minor has an account, and you can watch them, and you can put money in their account and let them, you watching the whole thing, and they're able to invest in the market that way. So that's an excellent way for education. Then we get to business. Most people get it mixed up. Oh, I own a business. No, right now I own a job. It just to be real, true business has a value. Like, it can be valuated because it goes whether you're there or not. And so you have to understand that. So investing in businesses, it looks a little different. It's either a business that you have developed, or it could be somebody else's business that you get dividends off of, or you have equity in that you get profit from. So that's where that is with businesses. So understanding that, just because you run a business doesn't mean it's a true business. Business has value. And if you can't evaluate your business, it's not an investment. We can't count it as an investment, is what I'm saying. Then, of course, going from business, you go to, I'll end with real estate because that's where we're at. And then the next one is commodities. And commodities is just what that is. It's what we need to do every day. So commodities are agriculture, gold, silver, all these different things. And I think a lot of people sleep on commodities. That's the oil and all this different things. And, that's something that I've been sleeping on too. I'm starting to actually do a little more research on that now, because especially with the pandemic and the supply chain and all these different things, commodities is an interesting place to be. So that's another one. And then also getting into real estate. Gosh, real estate, I know real estate. So boy, when you get into real estate, it is a rabbit hole. But that's every asset class. Once you get in there and start digging in there, you got to find the subclass you want to be in. Right. There's so many different ways to invest in real estate. It's ridiculous. I mean, so it is just, the list goes on. We'll be here for a while talking about that. But, of course, we do the residential, you can do commercial investing. You can do syndications where you don't even have to you just invest the money. Yeah. You can do notes where you own the paper and not the actual property. And so that you become the bank, which is what I love, that allows me to get the residual without the headaches. So of having rentals, but rentals that has appreciation when you have the property. So you lose that with notes, you lose that appreciation piece, but the cash flow is you can't even compete with the cash flow. Those two, you can't even compare on cash flow. So absolutely love them. So those are the ones. But real estate, I mean, gosh, it's just everybody's always going to need somewhere to live. Yeah. So let's just be honest. Yeah. And everything's cyclical. But one thing that always comes back, everything, the stock market always comes back. It's cyclical. Pretty much any investment you do is cyclical. That's why it's so important that you educate yourself about your asset class that you're in. You learn the cycles, where it needs to go, and be educated and not just go with the biggest fad. You need to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting. You mentioned like with each, class, you open up one door, there's 10 other doors open up, and you can go down several layers in specialization. And one of the things I want to share with you, with your followers is, I've been in the business, 35 years now, almost 36 years this January, the anniversary date of my very first rental property. And for years, the traditional rental market was where I was at. But now, because of this latest economic cycle, the values of the properties have gone up so far. And yes, rents have gone up, but not at the same pace as the values. So in other words, that model, the cost benefit model is not the same as it was. And the translation is cap rates are lower, So there are other sectors, though, that have taken off. And one of the most famous ones, of course, is Airbnb. They've commercialized the bed and breakfast business by capitalizing on people's homes with vacant bedrooms,
Right.
And I'll tell you what we're focusing on is what we call the corporate housing sector. And that's your business traveler with, 6-month contracts or 9-month contracts. They don't want to be in a hotel. They get tired of that. And yet they don't want to do a 1-year lease because they're not going to be there a whole year.
Right.
They will literally pay more for a 6-month lease than per month than they would pay on a year lease. And there's traveling nurses. There's contractors. There's all kinds of business entities that have the IRS calls mobile traveler status. And I'm one of them. I mean, by choice. Yeah. So we're looking at that because you have traditional homes, and yet you can rent them out to business travelers that they're not bringing their kids and their dogs. They're working during the day. They come home, they sleep at night. And yes, you have to furnish the place, but you've got a longer term lease than Airbnb. Yes, it's shorter term than traditional rentals, but you don't get your property's not getting beat up as much,
Yeah.
And generally they're paying the rents like you don't have to collect rents. It's like collection rates 100%. And sometimes the business or the companies they work for are paying them. So just everybody.
And they pay to clean. They pay
exactly
to clean
right.
it, so it's done, right?
Yeah. So it just goes to show you guys, whenever the economy changes, and we know we're headed in for another correction. I'm not a pessimistic person. I'm realistic. It's going to happen. Everybody just realize it's going to happen. No economy ever keeps going forever. It goes up and it goes down. The good news is, while I've never seen an up economy not go down, I've never seen a down economy not go up. So it's going to come right back up again. So just study the asset class like Jamila is suggesting, and follow her guidance, because there's always ways you can jump in, get yourself in the business, start making some money. You can partner with people. The real secret is, quite frankly, it's education plus information plus action. And that's what you get. You supply those three variables. And the fourth thing you get is the results. So those education plus action plus information plus action equals results. And you'll make better decisions. You'll make wiser decisions. And that's why we have people like Jamila, on the team. I love helping people, help them build their business, because it's a service. And I will tell you this. Everybody here, some of you have businesses. I know it because I've spoken to you. You're a dentist, you're an engineer with an HVAC business, you're a consultant, you're an accountant. And the more you serve others, the more you're going to succeed. And real estate is one of the three things: food, shelter, clothing, right? Everybody needs it. You might as well find your subsector in there and jump in on it and capitalize on something that's there no matter what the economy does.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Julia, if we could, let's talk a little bit about geography, where you are, and also do you have to do this where you are? Can people do this anywhere in the country? Or if they're elsewhere in the country, the other side of the coin is, can they work with you even though you're where you are? You're not.
Got you. Yeah.
So you can touch on that a little bit. That one is, I want people to realize it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah. So, I love it. I want to piggyback one thing that you talked about, the education. What was the thing? And then the action. What was the one in the middle you said?
Information.
Education, information, and action. I'd like to just kind of add on the front end of that is mindset, having the right and proper mindset, and again, getting into the purpose and all that stuff. I think all of that kind of goes into one. And then on the tail end of that, having the confidence to move forward. You have to move and take action in confidence. You have to be confident with those actions. And I think that's what, if we sandwich that in, I think that's where a lot of people, they fail to keep moving or to be successful because of the lack of a good mindset. And when they're thinking about what they want to do. And I think that what derails a lot of people when they get to the education and their information and the action is that they lack the confidence to really take the massive actions that's necessary. And so I'm speaking from experience, though the one that is overcoming that. So whenever I don't speak from what I hear, even though I do read a lot of books, I'm telling you what I've experienced and what I have overcome and what I'm still overcoming. So I'm not all perfect. And again, my mission is to master my resources and teach others to do the same. So as I learn, I teach others. So it's going to be a constant learning process. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you doing that too. You're absolutely right. Where your head and your heart need to be in alignment, and we call that mindset. And when you've got that ambition, that burning desire, and you have just enough discipline to allow yourself to learn first, I promise you the action part will be much easier. And Jamila, you're absolutely right. You've got to, like Tony Robbins says, take massive action. And I know I've got a situation in my life right now with my daughter. I know you know about that, but when things develop, I'm like, first I'm stunned, and then the next step is, okay, well, what is it can I do? What do I have available? What are my assets? Not just money, but assets. And so we got into massive action right away, and it's just most fulfilling thing. But that confidence comes from that, and it's like confidence is one of those things. The more action you take, and the more success you realize, it builds your confidence. And the more confident you are, the greater the action you're willing to take the next step. It's just an amazing upward spiral.
It is.
Yep.
It is. So getting back to your question, geography. So with everything with the financial literacy, needs to say that is online. So anybody that wants to really get on the track of building a legacy, but really don't know where to start, gaining your wealth. Right now, my focus is on women. I have a group that I do focus specifically, and I speak to women. That doesn't say men aren't welcome, but that's who I speak specifically to is women, because number one, I'm a woman. And I feel like a lot of times women drive, I don't feel like there's been statistics that show that women do drive money decisions in the household. So, they have, it used to be kind of like flip, but anyway, that I think women now, the last time I researched this, and so I really focus on women. Plus I know the struggle that women go through. It's a totally different challenge. And so that's you can just go to my website and be able to check all that good stuff out.
Okay.
Now with the commercial lending, I can do that anywhere in the United States, and also can do it overseas with $500,000 in certain areas with $500,000 minimum. And then also in Canada, I can do Canada for $500,000 or more. And then, but then there's some other ones. And then there's, then I can do, it has to be at least $1 million or more if in just kind of in general. So I do have lenders that I work with. So I can work with anybody anywhere. And I do commercial lending. And to clarify, to more or less qualify what that means, is that it's a business or non-owner occupied residential or commercial properties. And so that's warehouses, and, office buildings and things like that. Okay. And then we can do single family. It just has to be non-owner occupied, and all the loans have to be in the business name. So that's kind of to qualify it. And I deal with QM and non-QM money, which is qualified money. So if you need hard money, I can do that. If you are bankable, I can help you with that too. So that's what I do for the commercial lending side. Notes, of course, that's anywhere. I've got a network of people with boots on ground to facilitate that anywhere. Texas is a real easy state to do notes in because it's a non-judicial foreclosure state. So meaning that the deed is held in trust, and so you can foreclose in a very short period of time here in Texas. And this is pre-COVID. I haven't really, but before that, we're not judicial. But you have some that are judicial states that you have to actually go to court to do foreclosure. So some note investors stay away from the judicial state. Some of them don't care. And we found actually that owner finance homes didn't really have a huge default during the pandemic, because you find a lot of the people that we help in originating the notes as note investors, they appreciate it. It's a need for it. So they would not have a home if it was not for that. So they have a different appreciation for their ability to be in that home. So there was not a huge, not like, when you look at the FHA loans and the forbearances and all that stuff, those were very little issues. Every note investor I talked to did not have any issues collecting, during the pandemic. So I'm sure there's exceptions, but for the most part, it has been smooth sailing on that side because of just the owner financing and how that works. And so that is one way. That's one way to work with me. So I can do that. And I can help you with that anywhere. And then if you don't want to originate a note, then you can purchase notes that have already been originated and get quite a good return, probably more than what you're getting if you have it sitting in the bank. That I do know. And then also with the Global Investment Group, with us, we have a network of people all around the country. And then with EX, and if we don't have it with the Global Investor Agent Group, we have it in EXP. So whatever you need, you can contact whoever resonates with you, and we can vet a good agent to refer you to make sure that you're taken care of. So that's one of the reasons I structured my business the way it is because I don't want to be dependent upon a specific location. So I can help anyone, anywhere, from anywhere. And I absolutely love that. So that's pretty much my location geography.
Well, what's interesting is, it's funny. I of course, you might remember, I lived up in London, Ontario. It's a city called London in Canada, just like there is in England, for 5 years. And a lot of things we do in the States, we do in Canada too. Like we can buy and sell notes, and believe it or not, there's tax liens and things like that you can purchase. The lending business is different because in Canada, they do not sell their mortgages. That they're commercial banking, they're portfolio lenders, the entire country. So that part's different. But in the States, we have a lot more opportunities available to us. And I'm glad that you touched on that, because I want people to recognize it. If you want to participate in real estate investing, you just don't want to deal with the headaches of tenants and all that. It's not that bad. Believe me, I've had hundreds of properties over the years, thousands of tenants. I'm still here. I know I've got some gray hair, but I'm still here. But you can get in the notes business like Jamila's doing. We've got others on our team, the Global Investor Agent team, that do the same thing. They have some investments and they physical brick and mortar, and some they just buy notes. But I know we're kind of probably getting close on time here, Jamila, but I just want to make sure everybody understands, the way the world is today. It's changing so rapidly, but it's a good thing. A generation ago, fewer people were investing outside their own areas. Very few people were. Now, a lot of people are investing in multiple areas because we have the systems, we have the data, we have people like you. I mean, we've got agents on the team in 25 states. So it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier to do that. But I do want to mention one thing geographically is where you are in the Houston area is, guys, for everybody listening, is still one of the best areas to invest in. And you got Jamila right there. I mean, my gosh. And I know she's got a realtor's license because she's on the Global Investor Agent team. So any case, keep that in mind. Hey, Jamila, so how can people get a hold of you? I know you've got the training program and you run a group for women, and I admire you for doing it. I commend you for doing that, because I think it's a vital reason. I know I was raised by a single mom, and my first two bosses were women. This was back in the mid 80s. So my generation was the first generation where full on women were fully into management and getting executive positions and ownership positions. Prior to that, women got in the workforce back in World War II. But a lot of time, for a generation, there were very few that were in, senior positions. It's just the way the world was back then. It wasn't good, it wasn't right. It's just what it was. But now there's a lot more equality. We still always have progress to make. But I like the fact that you give women a place to go, a safe place to go to form relationships with other women around the country and probably even the world by now, and have access to you. It just gives them that confidence they need to take that next step and and get the education and get the information and build that mindset the way they need to. So sorry to ramble, but
okay.
You mentioned a website earlier on. So tell us about the website. How do we get a hold of you? That kind of thing, Yeah.
So my website is my name. So it's Jamila Tunu, JamilaTun, like in Nancy, u.com, JamilaTunu.com. And it can direct you to everything that I've talked about today. Also, the thing with the group, it's on Facebook. It's called Financial Freedom Foundations, and it has aspiring women investors in parentheses. So that's Financial Freedom Foundations. In that group, I'm real big on, doing self-care. So I put an affirmation out there every morning for the women to do some affirmations. Mondays are my money mindset Mondays. So I've been doing books lately because it's just been good excerpts from books. So I've just been talking about books. So we do that. Every day, every month, there's a theme right now. So right now, this month in November is savings and investment. Last month was debt. The month before that was credit. And the month before that was budgeting and net worth. So I cover those different things. And of course, it's so much in there. But again, those that want to dive deeper, I do have the course that's available, for them. And I'm building out a coaching program right now. So those that really want to dive in and have some type of coach to help hold them accountable, I'm creating a group coaching program as well. So that's in development. So be on the lookout for that. But I do have a free income allocation. Again, I actually have two free things, but the one free thing that I'll talk about today, and if you'd like to have the second one, just email me and I'll get that to you. But I don't have a landing page. I don't have a landing page for it yet. Actually, I can just create the landing page when we get off of here. But anyway, actually, I'll have the landing page. I'll get it done. So there's two things for those that don't have a budget, that have not allocated where their income goes. I do have a free tool that I give. And I have a video that shows you how to fill in. It's a fillable worksheet that does all the math for you to start allocating your income, because that's so important, because we can't really do anything if you don't know where your money is going. And so that's so important. But on top of that is I have a 66 affirmations, 66-day money mindset affirmation book, and it's a journal. It's an e-journal that I created, and it has 66 days of you writing out your affirmation. Why 66 days? Well, they say it takes about 66 days to create a habit, is to really, change those neurons in the brain. So if you're affirming something for 66 days, it's going to make a difference. And so this journal kind of encourages you, gives you ideas on on what affirmations that you want. And so that is available on my website as well. So it's 66-day money mindset affirmations. That's there, and this is a journal, and then also an income allocation tool that's available that does your calculations and everything for you. It even has little graphs and stuff like that. So it's a real cool thing to kind of help you out there. So those things are available on my website. Again, Jamila Tunu, www.jamilatunu, JamilaTunu.com, and find me there.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all that. And guys, if you please pay attention, hit replay if you need to. Also, we're going to put all this on the show notes. So on our website, realestateWithGaryWilson.com, there is a page just for podcasts, and you can go in there and see the show notes with the links and everything. So look for that when you're listening to the podcast. And please remember to leave a review, subscribe. If you've listened to it already, might as well go ahead and subscribe, but definitely leave a review for Jamila's podcast interview here. And by all means, go to the website, go to realestateWithGaryWilson.com, click on members area, and treat it like Christmas. I mean, we got 6 weeks of Christmas now. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. You can get, I think, 5 books for free, get 300 recorded webinars, I think, for free, 6 different calculators for free, probably close to 100 website resources we use on our team. You get to get for free just by doing that. And more importantly, you get to access people just like Jamila all across the country. So have at it, and take Jamila up on her offer, guys. I promise you, who you align yourself with is going to have a big impact on how far and how fast you succeed. And I'm telling you, Jamila's not on this podcast for any old good reason. She's the real deal. So pay attention.
Oh, thank you, Gary. I appreciate that.
Well, it's easy because I know you. It's an easy endorsement to make, but Jamila, thanks again too. I mean, God bless you and your family, and everybody listening. God bless your families. And Jamila, we'll let you have the last word. If you got any final words of wisdom or words of encouragement, feel free.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate that. My last words would simply be, if you want to invest and you don't know where to start, the key is to start. But start with your foundation. Start with getting your foundation in play. And again, I went through what those foundational areas are. And again, that's getting your mind right, getting your credit together, working on knowing where your money is and knowing what your net worth is. So that's cash, that's budgeting. And then also getting at consumer debt away so you can start building your legacy and not building someone else's. Start there, if you nothing else. And then once you're ready, once you have that in play, you'll find opportunities will come out of nowhere. Like they'll start coming to you. And it's just the way the universe works. You know, you'll be in a different frequency when you get that foundation together. So I definitely would encourage everyone to do that. So if you're thinking about investing and hadn't started, check those things off. If you've got those things, then go ahead and get started. Okay. Get started. And don't delay, because then the more you delay, you miss out on the time value of money. You're just going to be missing out on a lot. So just start. If you got the foundation in place, just start.
That's it. I love it. Well, thanks again, Jamila, and everybody listening. We'll see you on the next podcast next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. God bless you and your families, and have a good rest of the week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.